And we're back talking about why America and the West is collapsing. Another reason is gambling. And gambling might not seem like it's that big of a deal. It's very common now, but that is exactly what I want to touch on. It's extremely common. And it's not only common, it's being promoted. I watch a lot of MMA, so like UFC, Bellator, those types of events, and betting on fights is very common. Boxing, we know about odds on who's going to win. Is it going to be this guy? Is this guy? Is 3-1 odds? This and that. It's easy when we talk about two individuals just going fisticuffs. Other sports, there's all these different types of betting in regard to how many points are going to be scored and the over under and this quarter and that quarter and who's going to get the kickoff and the toss. There's all these different things that you can bet on now, but boxing, I think, was one of the originators of a lot of the betting. And think about where a lot of the big fights happen in Las Vegas. So a key point to understand on gambling, before I start to get into reasons why I believe it's contributing to the collapse, is Vegas. Just think about Vegas. Has the strip of Vegas gotten bigger over time or smaller? Bigger. Have the hotels in Vegas gotten bigger or smaller over time? Bigger. So what does that tell you? They make money. So even though people might say, hey, well, gambling, I've been able to make money off of gambling. On the average, people lose. And people lose a lot on the average. Most people lose. The house always wins. They don't say that because the house wins 50-50. The house always wins. At the end of the day, they're coming. So that's gambling on the larger sense. And what I'm talking about is more of now with sports and with the mainstream and with the internet. It's easy. It used to be you had to go to Vegas to gamble, or you had to go to a reservation to gamble. Now, because of the internet, I can gamble anywhere, wherever I'm at, just make an account and I can gamble. And that's on sports, that's on all sorts of different things. So with the invent of technology, we've made it easier for people to gamble. But what I see now is, yes, it's easier for people to gamble, but we always had, at least when I was growing up, and I'm not that old, but when I was growing up, there was always this negative connotation in regard to gambling. Pete Rose is a baseball player who was basically taken away from the game of baseball. Nobody wants anything to do with this guy, Pete Rose, because he gambled on baseball games. Now, I'm not sure if he gambled on himself to lose, or if he was, doing some shady things and things like that. I don't know to the extent of that. But what my main point is this, is we look at gambling as like a black eye, all right? Even someone like Michael Jordan, one of his biggest faults is that he's like a gambling addict. And so people always, and again, this is my history, I don't know if this is your history, but people looked at gambling as a negative thing. They looked at it as gambling, okay? If I was gonna say I'm gonna take a gamble on that, I didn't say I'm gonna take an educated guess. I didn't say I'm going to think things out, I'm gonna plan things. It's like, I'm gonna gamble, I'm gonna take a chance, right? It's by itself, it's not the most smart thing to do, you would say. You wouldn't say, I'm going to gamble my future on these types of, on something, right? It's like, no, don't you want to think about things? Don't you want to plan stuff out? Wouldn't you rather, do things the right way for your future versus just gambling it? So that word has become more commonplace because we're able to do it more often. And like I said, with technology. But I felt growing up, there was always a negative connotation towards it. You don't want to gamble. If you want to do, have a poker game for fun, those types of things. But you always thought of the person losing their house or getting addicted, gambling addicts, where they just can't stop. And it's that thrill of the win, and then you lose and you lose and you lose, and then you win and then you lose and lose and lose. Like I said, the house always wins. You might win some, you might get that feeling, it feels great, but then you lose all the money back. And not to say that people can't be smart about it, they can. But again, that's a small percentage. So the normalization of it now, to me, has gotten crazy. Like the fact that there's advertisements on ESPN now for gambling, it blows my mind, because at the same time, like I was saying, this has been like a black eye on lots of people. People will say, oh, that person gambled, and then they kick him out of the sport. And I understand what you're saying. Hey, look, they were able to influence. If you're gambling on the sidelines watching the game, hey, you're allowed to gamble. These people who were in it, they could affect the outcome, whereas the people outside, they can't go and play in the game. I understand where you're coming from, but we still weren't promoting gambling when we talked about that. We didn't say, yeah, these people are bad for gambling, but it's okay for you to gamble. Go ahead. It wasn't talked about. There wasn't advertisements, at least I'm not aware of advertisements for people going out and gambling on sporting events. They have TV shows now talking about gambling and being out in Vegas and making a bet and doing all this and craziness that goes along with it on ESPN, on a sports network. Almost all of the people that I follow about fighting, MMA, they have the odds right there. They're talking about it and they're open about it. And they're even, some of them have like little snippets in their show, their podcast, saying this would be a good bet, this would be a bad bet. And so it's become more and more normalized to the point now where it's just gambling. It's just what we do. But I feel, again, when I use that word gamble, it's not, I'm going to think rationally about something. I'm going to take all the factors into consideration and plan. I'm going to gamble, right? It's like, I'm just going to take this and who knows, right? What happens with it? So I look at that and I say, are we doing the best for ourselves when we're just gambling things away, when we're letting things go off into the wind, like, hey, this might happen, it might not, but we're going to see. I think that it's just setting up for ourselves this idea of chance and this idea of luck instead of hard work, planning, preparation. Now, it doesn't mean you can't have a good time and bet on some squares during the Super Bowl. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying the over-normalization of it, especially from the same people. Like I said, ESPN, all these people talk about these talk shows and they make all these different sports shows. And they're the ones who for years and years have said gambling is bad, or at least they've implied it. They haven't even talked about how the bookies affect what's going on and how they know what's going on. The mob, the bookies, the people who are there just to make money off of these sports stars who are already getting taken advantage of by all these other avenues, all these other things. They make tons of money, but they get taken advantage of too. It's just another way for us to make money. And you might be saying, hey, why not make money? Why not add some more money into it? But how are you going to make money for a nation of people? All right, you're making money off of a nation of people because, like I said, the house always wins. The people, the bookies that make the betting lines, they know what's going to happen. They don't know, but they know more than the average person. They might even have inside information about what's going on with the fighter or what's going on with the team and why they might lose. And do you think that these referees who come out and talk about, yeah, I was paid this and I did that, it's like these things go on, and the people who are sitting there and putting money down, it's not just a gamble for them. It's almost like a guaranteed loss. Not a guarantee, but it's like the shift, because there's so much money involved and there's so much opportunity, is if we can just get this, but they give away so much, all these online betting, online gambling, all they do is they say, we're going to give you $100. We're going to give you $200. We're going to double. If you pay up to $500, we'll give you another $500 on your first bet. Once they get you one time, they've got you. And like I said, the house always wins. So once they'll give you money because they know they're going to get it back. No one would ever say, here's $100 or up to $500 if they didn't know that they were going to get that money back. Or at least say, I'm going to get that money back with a 75% guarantee or 80% guarantee. It's probably higher than that. But that's what I'm saying is it's just a way for companies and for people to take advantage of other people. I don't see that benefiting a nation. I don't see that benefiting people. Even people who win the lottery, the biggest gamble of all, right? I can buy one ticket for $1 and win $500 million if it's up to that much. Even people who win the lottery and win tons of money end up broke. Most people, I watched a documentary called Lucky, great documentary. It follows all these different people that won. And there was only one person that actually did something with the money the right way and ended up enjoying it. The people who won like over $300 million were miserable. Miserable. Lost their best friends, lost all of the, like, they've become completely fake now because of it, because they're ashamed of how they got their money. They're ashamed of what it ended up causing and what they ended up seeing from people. Now they probably are doing things that help them, but I think out of the family of I think it was like 4 people, the husband, wife, son, and daughter. And I think the wife is the only one who's like dealing with it well. Everybody else is kind of like, it's wild. So even things where you'd think, hey, I'm not making a ton of money and now I've got $100 million, my life is going to be great. It doesn't even work out for those people. So imagine if you're winning $1,000 here, $2,000 here, you start to get that high, you start to get addicted to it. That's not a good thing to have, right? Make a little bit of money here and then lose more there. And then you're like, well, I'm going to make it back. So I'm going to bet double what I did. That's our mindset. That's what people do. And I know that the bookies, the websites, all these things, they know that too. Like I said, Vegas, the hotels get bigger, the strip gets bigger, not on accident. Not on accident. And what I see is us as a population looking to gamble with more things, looking to gamble with our health, looking to gamble with a relationship, looking to gamble by cheating and I don't see that as a recipe for success. I see that as, again, a recipe for collapse and failure. So gambling, again, it's a gamble. I don't know, there's not many other words that can really sum it up exactly like that. And yet we're promoting it and we're saying that it's normal and that, hey, not only that, we'll give you money if you want to gamble some money, we'll give you some extra just so that you can have some more fun. And it might be fun in the moment, but I don't think it's great in the long term. And I feel like it's setting us up for more and more gambling on more and more parts of our lives. And I don't think that that's what we should be doing. We should be taking in all the information, focusing, and making the best decision that we can with that information. We're not going to be perfect. Sometimes it's going to have to be a gamble. You're going to have to take guesses in life, but actively going out and promoting it and that being almost a way of life, that cannot be a recipe for success. So that's my thoughts on gambling, how it's been normalized, and how it's leading to the collapse that we're experiencing. Until next time, I'll see you then.